How the US crafted its early immigration policies, and trust us, it wasn't exactly the land of equal opportunity. Just a year after the Constitution took effect, Congress passed the Naturalization Act of 1790. It sounds official, and it was, but here's the catch: it only allowed free white persons of good character to become US citizens. That meant no citizenship for Native Americans, enslaved Africans, free black people, or non-European immigrants. Race and class were written directly into the nation's legal DNA. Over time, policies shifted, like the Chinese Exclusion Act of 1882, the Immigration Act of 1924, and the Hart-Celler Act of 1965, each redefining who could enter, and who belonged. In 1862, the Homestead Act offered 160 acres of free land to settlers. This brought in waves of Scandinavian immigrants, Norwegians, Swedes, Finns, who braved the cold plains to farm the American Midwest. By the late 1800s and early 1900s, a new wave surged in from Southern and Eastern Europe: Italians, Poles, Russian Jews, and others fleeing persecution and poverty. Many arrived through the brand-new Ellis Island, opened in 1892, the gateway for over 12 million immigrants. Tired, poor, huddled masses. Definitely. But also determined, skilled, and ready to transform America forever. When people say America is a nation of immigrants, they're not kidding. From the 1840s to the early 1900s, the US was hit by massive waves of newcomers chasing freedom, land, or just survival. First up, the Irish and Germans. Fleeing famine and political unrest, over 4 million Irish and Germans arrived between the 1840s and 1860s. They built cities, dug canals, and laid the foundations, literally, of modern America. Meanwhile, out west, thousands of Chinese immigrants came in the 1860s, lured by gold and jobs. Their labor was crucial to building the Transcontinental Railroad, completed in 1869, a spine of steel stretching from coast to coast. Hard work? Yes. Recognition? Not so much. Chinese immigrants faced brutal discrimination and were later banned outright in 1882. A tale of hope, heartbreak, and, at times, hypocrisy. For centuries, the United States was seen as a land of opportunity. Millions came chasing the American dream. But not everyone was welcome. Chinese workers were blamed for economic issues and banned from entering the country for decades. Fast forward to 1924. The Immigration Act set quotas based on national origin, heavily favoring Northern and Western Europeans. Southern and Eastern Europeans, Asians, and Africans were mostly shut out. During World War II, fear overtook reason. Over 120,000 Japanese Americans, most of them US citizens, were forcibly removed from their homes and placed in internment camps. No trials. No crimes. Just ancestry. While Nazi persecution escalated in Europe, Jewish refugees looked to America for safety. But US immigration policy remained strict. In 1939, the ship St. Louis, carrying over 900 Jewish refugees, was turned away from American shores. Many would later perish in the Holocaust. America's immigration story is filled with contradictions, a nation of immigrants that often closed its doors. Understanding this past is key to shaping a better future. After World War II, America changed. And so did the people who came here. What began as a slow shift in attitude turned into one of the most significant immigration reforms in US history. From the 1965 Immigration Act to the rise of DACA, from Vietnamese refugees to Caribbean and African newcomers, this is the story of how immigration reshaped America, again. And why, today, it's more debated than ever. Before World War II, America's immigration system was driven by fear and exclusion. But World War II turned the world upside down. In the aftermath, the US saw a global refugee crisis, millions displaced by war and genocide. As the leader of the free world, America was under pressure to live up to its democratic ideals. Meanwhile, back home, the civil rights movement was demanding racial justice. Many began to question why immigration law was still rooted in racial hierarchy. The seeds of reform were planted. The nation began to slowly, and sometimes reluctantly, rethink who belonged here. In 1965, change became law. President Lyndon B. Johnson signed the Immigration and Nationality Act at the foot of the Statue of Liberty. The law abolished the race-based quota system and replaced it with a new framework focused on family reunification and skilled labor. It was a major civil rights victory, one that completely reshaped the country. Some came seeking better jobs and economic opportunity. Others fled civil wars, violence, or US-backed regimes in countries like El Salvador, Guatemala, and Nicaragua. By the 1990s, Latinos had become the largest minority group in the US, building strong communities in cities like Los Angeles, Houston, and Chicago. Next came the Southeast Asian refugee crisis. After the Vietnam War, the US took in hundreds of thousands of refugees from Vietnam, Cambodia, and Laos. Many had allied with American forces or fled brutal regimes like the Khmer Rouge. They settled in cities across the West Coast and Midwest, creating vibrant communities, like Little Saigon in California. From the Caribbean, a growing number of immigrants came from Haiti, Jamaica, and the Dominican Republic. Some, like Haitian boat people, were fleeing dictatorship and poverty. Others were drawn by family and opportunity. They enriched cities like Miami and New York, adding their culture, language, and resilience. In the 1980s and 90s, African immigrants became one of the fastest-growing immigrant groups, especially from Nigeria, Ethiopia, Ghana, and Somalia. Many came as students, professionals, or refugees. Their stories often defied stereotypes, contributing to medicine, engineering, education, and the arts. Smash that like button, subscribe, and keep watching Dead Cool History, where the past is way cooler than your textbook.